Tim, I want to talk about a guy that when I was young, everybody talked about this guy. He was the toast of hockey, and his name was Pete Babando. Now, I know not many people know about him, and I'm going to tell you about him. I think he was from South Porcupine, Ontario. But let me tell you something. He was New York Rangers were playing Detroit, and boy, we were all interested in that game.
About what years were this?
It was 1950. And there was nothing else on. We didn't care about anything else but hockey. That's all we talk about. And it went into the seventh game, went into overtime. And this is the first time, and Pete Babando scored the goal. It was a backhand. I remember hearing about it and seeing it on thing. Pete Babando scored, and he was the toast of hockey.
So who did he play? He played for?
He played for Detroit, and they're playing New York Rangers, and he scored on Bonnie Prince Charlie. They call him Bonnie Prince Charlie Rayner. And, Bonnie Prince Charlie was really upset every time when they talk about goaltenders handling the puck. He was the first guy that really could handle a puck. Bonnie Prince Charlie. That's a great name,
Yeah,
eh?
it is. It's a good nickname. One of the better ones.
Yeah. Anyhow, Pete Babando scored. And he was a toast of hockey. I knew this. Everybody knew that. Great name, eh? Pete Babando. So after the playoffs, he goes back to South Porcupine. And again, he is the hero of heroes. And he buys a new car. We all bought new cars back in those days. When he buys a new car, a new Chevy. It was a new Chevy two-door hardtop. I remember talking. He talked about it afterwards. And he picked out, he had a couple of points, I guess. I shouldn't say that, but I guess he had a couple of points. And he packed with all his friends. All his friends are in there. And they're driving along a highway. And right in the middle of the highway is a great big moose. And in spring, they're running season, and they're not too happy about things. Anyhow, the moose, anyhow. And so he knew enough just to stop and let the moose go across and forget about it. And one of his buddies thought it'd be funny to beep the horn at the moose. So he beeps the horn at the moose. The moose, oh, you want to play it tough, eh? He destroyed the car. He hadn't had the car for over a half hour, and he destroyed the car. And that's what I remember about Pete Babando. Got the winning goal for Detroit against New York Rangers, against Bonnie Prince Charlie and Rayner, and his car was destroyed. So that's really something. And I was 15 years old. You hear about that, about destroying his car, winning the goal. What a year he had like that.
Yeah.
Pete Babando.
So, Dad, we also had some sad news in hockey this past week. Henri, the pocket rocket Richard, passed away.
I played against him when I played for the Barrie Flyers. I remember an exhibition game. And, he's a little guy, eh? Just a little guy. So I remember I went to take him in the corner. I said, little guy, I'll crush this little guy. Boy, was he solid on his skates. He'd give me the shoulder and the chest. He'd almost knock my chest. I mean, he might have been small, but boy, he was a powerful little guy. And must have been tough following the rocket. And he didn't say much. And you know what got me? When I saw pictures of him on television and that he sat in amongst the crowd. And Belleville sat in amongst the crowd, in Montreal.
After they were tired and everything.
Yeah, and usually they're hidden up in the boxes and that and everything. But here are the guys sitting in amongst the... Boy, I tell you, that's a first class... I must tell a story. When I went there, it's a first class organization, the Montreal Canadiens. They really are. They are first class. Because everybody get the autograph from him. He was like an ambassador near the end. And he was a tough little guy.
Well, he won 11 Stanley Cups. That record will never be broken as a player.
11 Stanley Cups. I think he won 5 in a row.
Right.
And I love what they said, what French about Toy Blake said it to him. He said, they asked him, he said, does he speak English? He says, I don't even know if he speaks French. He says, he never says anything.
Well, we had his brother, of course, Rocket Richard, on the Grapevine show in 1982. And here's a little clip of him talking about his brother. And he, as you can see in the clip, that he kind of came in just as the Rocket was leaving.
You said the day you quit, I remember a couple of days before, you said that I'm going to see how I do in the scrimmage. And you scored 4 goals in the scrimmage and you quit after. Why?
Well, I don't know the reason, because I had my mind made up with that. But I was at the training camp for a week, and it was kind of hard to follow two young guys like my brother Henry and Dickie Moore that were 15 years younger than I was.
Yeah. Listen, they tell me that at the start, Henri went on for 11 championships and Stanley Cups, and he's going to be a Hockey Hall of Fame. But they invited him there just to please you. That was the story. Is that true?
No, I don't think so. No, Henry was playing with the Montreal organization. He was playing for the National Junior, and he was only 15 at the time, and he was the best hockey players on the ice.
I played against him.
Yes,
great.
Probably. And when he came to training camp, it's not because I was there. I'm sure that they saw him play junior. And when he came to training camp, he was the only guy. He was the only guy that had the puck all the time.
So that was Rocket Richard talking about his brother Pocket Rocket back in 1982 when we were on the Grapevine Show. And I read a funny thing on the internet that Dennis Hull, when they asked him about Henri Richard, he says, because I hated playing against him. And they said, why? He says, because he'd always skate up behind me and say, my brother's better than your brother.
Dad, you have some great stories about Dennis Hull. He was a great speaker, wasn't he? Following, you never wanted to follow Bobby, or I should say Dennis Hull, right?
Well, him and I did. I'm just thinking about it now. We did a dog and pony act, and I'd meet him in Montreal. I don't know where he'd fly. I guess he didn't fly to Toronto. We meet in Montreal. And I met him in Montreal, and I remember, I hate to say this, but he had hemorrhoid operation. Isn't that awful thing to talk about? And he did. And he was still laughing with the hem. So I remember that we met him, and we were taking a limo somewhere, and the limo broke down, and he's still laughing. And we had to get out and hitchhike, and we finally made it. And I was there. I was one of the first guys that he was dynamite. Like, you're right. You never, ever wanted to follow him. You had to go first because he'd start laughing and he'd get it. He was the best.
Well, wasn't his laugh sort of contagious? Even if he might not have been funny, he laughs. He's one of those guys that laughs at his jokes, but yeah, and it's contagious, isn't it?
I would forget where I was down in Nova Scotia, and I was dying up there, doing my best, and I looked down and he's laughing, because, that's the way it was. And I said, well, you get up here. I said, and everything like that. So he got up there and he started to laugh, and the more he laughed, the more the people laughed. He had everything going for him.
Well, he was almost like Johnny Carson. The more he died, the funnier it was. Johnny Carson, when he was doing his monologue and nobody was laughing, then it became funny, and that's how I think he started laughing, because he'd say a joke and nobody would say anything, and then he'd start to laugh.
And he, like I tell you, this guy, he had everything going for him too. And and they never liked him in Chicago because he said he never lived up to his brother. And he got 38 goals. And he had the big slap shot, and he had everything going for him. But he was never as popular as Well, there's a brother following another brother.
Yep.
And
Tell the one story about the opera singer.
Oh yeah, he told me this story that his brother was supposed to go down to California, and then he saw all the big speakers and Frank Sinatra and all those guys and everything, and he says, and I'm not doing it. And Dennis says, I'll do it. What do I care? So nobody ever heard of Dennis. No, I don't think they ever heard of Bobby. So I'm not saying who it was, because she was a good girl. She was a nice singer. But she was an opera singer, and opera singers are usually bigger than kind of heavy, because they have to be.
Rubenesque, we'll call him.
What are they called?
Rubenesque.
Your guys are kind.
Rubenesque, is that it?
Rubenesque.
Okay. Well, anyhow, she's big. She was big. So she sang, and everybody, clapped and everything. And all of a sudden, this little guy come wandering out on the stage, and everybody sat down. He said, "Ha! You thought it was over when the fat lady sang, eh?" And boy, she sued him, and when she heard about it, she was upset. But he was the best. When he speak, he just owned the people, and he's still speaking, and he's still doing a great job.
And he's still giving it to his brother.
Oh, I don't want to say things he said about his brother. I think one thing I can say, there was a lot of things he said. He says, yeah, it's my hair to wear the hair. Anyhow, I don't want to say anything what he says about his brother. But Dennis, he was the best.
Well, Dad, over the weekend, Florida kind of got back into the race. They beat Montreal, I think it was 4-1, and kind of got back into the race. And everybody kind of written them off a little bit because their goalie, Bobrovsky, was hurt.
I have to tell you a story. This guy, and I've talked about it many times before, you have to watch when their contract is up. His contract was up in Columbus, and he was dynamite. And Florida signed him for big money. I think the only guy that's making more money is Price right now. But he's second highest. He might even be the highest. But he's around there, around $10 million.
Yeah, I remember watching the playoffs with you, and he was Stone in Tampa. And you said somebody's going to pay him big dough, and they said they're going to be sorry.
They're going to be sucked in, as I call it, sucked in. And they were sucked. Florida was sucked in. They paid this guy $10 million, and he was a sieve. He was as bad as Hardy. Well, not as bad as Hardy. Nobody's bad as Hardy. Hardy asked him, I hope you people that are listening know who Hardy is. Anyhow, Florida pays him the $10 million, and which is, ridiculous to pay him $10 million. So, and I'm not going to name the coach and everything like that because I'm going to go into it a little later. But they pay him $10 million. Now, they have an owner that really doesn't know anything about hockey. Really, he can't, because they would not insist that they cut $10 million. The rumor is around the National Hockey League that he wants to cut $10 million off the payroll. So they get rid of Trocheck. He was a plus player, and I really liked him. He was one of my favorite players with Florida. So right away, the players know that they're in a dogfight, and now they get rid of one of their best players. And he keeps playing this Bobrovsky. And this Bobrovsky is making $10 million. And I don't blame the coach, because the coach, if he wants his job, if they play the backup, how do you pronounce his name?
Chris Driedger.
Yeah, Driedger. He's from Winnipeg. His record is 6-2-1. You know this guy is a winner. You know you win, but maybe you might not make the playoff. You got to play the game in life. I never learned to play the game. I should have learned the game. Someday I'll go over my whole career and tell about it. But I never learned to play the game. Now, here's the way the guys got it figured. If I play Bobrovsky at the end of the thing, hey, you guys, you signed him before you signed him. I didn't sign him, but I'm playing him. And if you play the other guy, Driedger from Winnipeg, got a nice record. You got a real good shot at the making the playoffs with him, but maybe you're not. At the end of the thing, you can say if you play Bobrovsky, if you're the coach, you can say, well, I played the guy you signed for $10 million, and I know you're paying him. And the guy doesn't know anything. The owner doesn't know anything about it. And he's, well, I can't blame him. So what happened that Bobrovsky got hurt over the weekend, and Driedger goes in, and he wins the game 4-1. The only reason he's in there is because, and they got outshot the last two periods of that game with Montreal. They got outshot. The only reason he's in there is because Bobrovsky is hurt, and he wins the game. And now they're 3 points behind. Now he has to play Driedger. And you see what I mean about playing the game? You have to play the game, not only in life, but in the National Hockey League. If you don't play the game, you're gone. And that's what happened there. They have a shot now. I think they got a game in hand.
They got a game on hand.
Yeah, they got a game in hand. And this over the weekend, they have a tough schedule coming up. But that's what they call in the National Hockey League, playing the game. I never learned to play the game, unfortunately for me. Someday I'll go over my whole career.
So what you're saying that is if the coach played Driedger, he's putting his job on the line.
Say 3 or 4 games ago, he had to play Driedger, and Driedger, and there's a chance he could lose, but his record is 6-2-1. He puts his job on the line when he plays Driedger, because the owner would say, what is this? I'm paying this guy, Bobrovsky, $10 million, and you don't pay him, and you put your job on the line like that. But hey, at the end of the season, he can say, hey, you paying this guy $10 million. I played him. How can you blame me?
So, Dad, you and I have been out to quite a few games this week. It's the GTHL playoffs, and we're in the finals right now, and all minor hockey's kind of wrapping up. And
boy, I love watching that hockey. I'm not knocking the National Hockey League, but I guess I am in a way. You know how they changed? What gets me is how now remember the next time you watch the National Hockey League, how the guy stops in front of the net or behind the net, the defenseman, and he looks up and he stops and he watches everybody change. In minor midget and in junior hockey, well, in junior hockey's doing that now too. They emulate the National Hockey League. They stop and let everybody change. But in minor midget, there's only 15 minutes periods. They change on the fly like they used to. And I love watching that hockey. And, you know, I really do get a kick out of when the kids score in overtime. They are just...
The last two games was 6 went into the 6th period, and then the other one went to the 5th period.
Boy, it was cold, too. I was cold.
The rinks were...
Was I cold? And then, you know, I'm glad they went in overtime because you're going to see. And boy, I'll tell you, 2 good goals. And one kid, I better not mention his name, but the one kid that got the tying goal and the winning goal, he never put on the power play in the overtime.
Yeah. You know, I know we're kind of getting off base here, but when we were watching it, and we'll name his name is Armstrong, playing for Vaughan Kings. He got a really nice goal to tie it up.
Yeah.
And you said to me, you said, you see, he says he shot that with a purpose.
Yeah.
And he goes, the other kids just shoot the puck. So tell him what you mean there.
Well, you know, what I mean by that is, and I used to call it, I can't tell you what I used to call it. When a guy goes down, he makes a nice play, and he gets a good shot on net, but it's just a shot. Like, I mean, nobody cares. Like, it's just a shot. You know, well, you can't say anything because it's a shot. And right in the breadbasket, I used to say. And I said, couldn't be better. And you can't blame the kid because he did, you know, down.
It was on goal.
Yeah, that's down is a good shot. But that kid, when he got the puck, he knew what he was doing. He even if he lost the puck, he knew where he was putting the puck. Where'd you say he'd get drafted, Tim?
Well, he's been playing. He's really had a good playoff, so he might be moving up in the draft.
Yeah,
but he's.
But
that's the thing. Like, you know, when we were watching it, I would say on the kids, if they hit the net, but boy, they missed the net a lot.
Oh, they missed the net. Well, they go all the way down, miss the net, and they say, "Well, I'm trying for a corner." That kid, when he put the, and the power play, well, I better not.
Yeah, but a lot of the kids, so you see the shots on net that the kids do, as you say, it's always about 2-3 feet off the ice, right in the middle of the goal. Like, you're not scoring.
But the last one.
Yes.
What mentioned his name?
Pooley.
Yeah. And number 44. And it's an overtime. And he takes and this goaltender, what's his name?
I'll look it up. It's Dominic.
Yeah. It's a Greek name.
Or Italian. I don't know. I'll have to look. We'll look it up.
Okay. Tough. Yeah. But is he dynamite, eh? Oh, boy. I wish I had him in Colorado. I'm not kidding. I wish I had a 15-year-old kid in Colorado. This kid don't. Anyhow, and so the kid is falling down. Pooley's falling down. He takes a shot. Bing. He stops it. He's in the air. And the second one's coming, and he takes a shot, and the guy stops it again. And then the third shot, as he's in the air, he puts it in the corner. Holy, talk about if you want to watch great hockey, you should go out. I shouldn't say it because there won't be any, but you go out and watch minor midget hockey. It's a throwback to the 50s and 60s where they changed on the fly, and the game and the referees aren't bad. Now they have 2 referees now in the playoffs. But
we saw a thing we did seen the other day was a woman referee,
and she was great.
She was one of that. She was good because it's weird. I don't know why the GTHL does it. Is that all year they go with 1 referee,
and then in the playoffs,
they go with 2 referees.
Some guy thinking too much.
Yeah.
And what happens is you call down here, and I got to call one in, but not her. No, she called one right off the bat, and I thought, oh boy. And she never called a one the rest of the game. She did a great job. The other guy was calling penalties, and she was kind of looking at him. Like, what are you nuts?
Well, how refreshing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. And anyhow, it is great hockey to watch. Yeah. And
I'll be right. I'm just going to go check that goalie's name. Hold on.
Yeah, check. All right. The name of that goaltender is DeVincentis. It's close enough, anyhow. Yeah. He can stop pucks.
It's funny how we were talking to Gary, who is the head guy of the Nats, and we were talking, and
he coached junior. He was the goaltender for junior Canadians last year. So
they switched. So he's got he was playing well, but if it's minor midget, junior, American Hockey League, NHL, you're just going to go as far as your goalie's going to take you.
Goaltenders, and it's funny they don't draft them right away because you never know about a goaltender. But I know about this kid. I hope he gets drafted good. But we were going to talk about Shane Wright. Tell us how you and I used to go out to watch him.
Well, Shane Wright, last year he played in Don Mills Flyers minor midgets, and I think they lost one game all year, and that includes regular season tournament.
Well, they were with that kid that got
the goalie. I think it was the year before when they would have been major Bantams. Their goalie, who was supposed to be a very good goalie, was murdered, and his sister his sister and his mom were murdered. Triple murder. It was just awful. I guess the kids just went into a funk, and it was an awful story. And then next year, they used to go out in warm-ups a lot, and they used to wear a sweater and everything.
They dedicated the year
to him. They lost one game, including playoffs, regular season, tournaments, and everything like that. So Shane Wright was 14 playing with the 15-year-olds, and he got exceptional status. And so he was underage drafted into the NHL with Kingston. And when we were watching him with the Don Mills Flyers, he had 150 points in 72 games. And I remember, I think we told this just before, but we were watching him, and he liked to pass the puck early.
Oh yeah, he was like Gretzky. In a sense, he'd get over the blue line, he'd stop and start looking for guys. He was one of those guys that passed the puck. And I remember his agent come to me and he says, "Would you sit and talk with us?" No, I'm not. I don't sit and talk with anybody, because if I start that stuff, I'm in deep trouble if I start sitting talking with kids that are good. So I said, just tell them one thing. As a friend and watching hockey, I said, tell them, guys that pass drive cars that aren't expensive. I can't say who I said. And guys that shoot and score drive expensive cars. The next game he got a hat trick.
Yeah. And he's doing well in Kingston. He just broke Bernie Nichols' record for the Kingston Frontenacs. He has 39 goals, and so that set a record. And he has 66 points, and that tied Connor McDavid's numbers at the same age. Yeah. And he still has 10 games left, I think. And he might beat John Tavares. He set the record with 77 points as an exceptional player.
You know, the funny thing, guys will be telling me about, that kid, that Shane, he's pretty good. And I hear them talking on television now about him and everything. And Tim and I watch them. And that's why we know what's going on.
Yeah, and he's one of those. He won't be in the World Juniors next year, because that's a little bit young. But he'll be 17, so 2 years he'll be in the World Juniors
and a star.
And it's a big draft year. That 2020, he'll be draftable. That 2020.
Somebody better pull some strings on one of the teams.
And it's a really big draft year for Canadians. Anyway, the top three guys, I bet, will be Canadians.
Well, whoever gets him, and I remember he's going to Kingston. My brother is one of the scouts down there. Doug Springer's the owner. I said, "You got a beauty," and we got to get somebody. I remember them saying they got to get somebody to play with. I said, he doesn't need to play with anybody.
Yeah, no, he's a little bit different player. People watch him. He's not like
sort of. He reminds me of in a way. He reminds me of Crosby in a way.
Right. He's not like McDavid.
No.
But he's. A lot of times you'll look and you maybe not notice him as much, but then he'll have 2 goals and 3 assists.
And he's a good passer. I mean, McDavid, I haven't seen, the closest I've seen to him, people going to watch is Bobby Orr. I mean, but McDavid, I mean, he's a highlight almost every time he touches the puck.
Yeah. So as you say, Shane Wright, he plays more like Crosby. He's kind of a little bit shorter, he's stocky.
Yeah, and leg wide apart. He plays their leg bags apart, very stocky.
Yeah, but he got, over the weekend, or last weekend, he got a hat trick against Flint. I think he got 4 or 5 points. So remember that name.
Well, I know he must be getting famous, because I hear guys mention him on television. So right away, in about a year or so, everybody, boy, he's a good hockey player. I'll say, is that right?
Yeah, we sat in that cold Victoria Village rink. That's one of those really old rinks in Toronto.
And really nice, though.
But you never see a bad game in that rink.
Yeah.
And is it cold?
It's funny you say that. There are rinks that we go and we watch, and we're not going to mention their names, but the ice is a little bigger, and we never see a real great game there. Never, ever, ever. And we've been going there for 20 years, and we never see a great game there. But a little rink when they small, and the sound. Where's that rink that we hear the sound so good?
There's a couple rinks that like Westwood and Chestwood are good. The rink like 3 or 4 at the the Paramount Center, used to be the Hershey Center, was really good.
Yeah,
but because you're close to the game, right?
You're ready and close.
You
to
hear
the
the kids talk or swear or whatever, and
boy, and we don't. And when we go to the game, we never talk, eh? And if somebody's talking, I have seen scouts there, and they're checking their.
Oh, I know that's a thing for you. I went to a game with you, and you could hardly concentrate on the game with the guy sitting beside you who was a scout, and he was on his phone. Look at him.
Well, not only that,
the game.
when they talk back of you too, it really bugs you. You're trying to concentrate on the game. And and I often wonder how those guys they ever scout.
Dad, I got to tell you what I think happens is they see you there.
I know this, because they scout you out.
And they go, and I think this was at one of the last games we were at. We sat there, and the guys came in late, and they talk loud because they want to try to impress you with their hockey.
Is that
knowledge.
it?
I think so.
And we moved.
And we moved. Yeah.
It's very obvious when you move too. You move with authority, and there's a reason that you're moving, and they know.
But bugs me when I go to a game and somebody's yapping and back at me. Will you shut up? I'm trying to watch the game. Like maybe my concentration isn't good. It's like when I do Coach's Corner. Like a lot of people don't know, but when I do Coach's Corner, I don't see anything. It's all black. I don't hear any sound. And another thing, and I listen to and I tell the cameraman, I don't want to see him. I don't want to see him move. I don't want to see anybody move.
It doesn't take much to distract you.
Well, I'm not a professional.
That's true.
I'm amateur, and I don't want to see anybody. And when Ron and I used to talk and everything, I would not go on till the red light went on. And one time, we had a new cameraman. He never put the red light on. Now we're live. And I said, I'm not talking. He said, no, we have to wait. Nope, not talking until that red light goes on. And the guy had to put a red light on somehow because I'm not a professional. And when I go to a hockey game, I like to watch the hockey game. I don't want to hear some guy yapping. Anyhow.
But that's what they did. Like the last game, I think that was.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah, we got up, gave a dirty look, and we moved. But
that's a very important thing I know when I go to game. Where are you going to sit? Because you can't sit in one section of the team, right? Like you have to have a neutral part.
Isn't it funny, Tim? Every time we go, and Cindy, you're right, absolutely right. You have to be careful where you sit.
You have to be neutral where you sit, because if you sit on one side and that's the side of the Marlies or what, now, I see. Oh no.
No, I have to. I don't cheer for. I'm mixed. No. I gotta watch. I don't cheer because I'm cheering.
And when you clap, you can't.
No, I don't clap. We just kind of look straight ahead, and we watch the game. That's funny. Those seats are always there, eh?
Yeah.
When you walk in.
Yeah, they're usually.
I don't think nobody wants them.
Well, because they're because everybody goes to the middle.
Yeah.
We either sit at either one far end or the other far end.
Anyhow, we have a lot of fun, and boy, is it cold.
Yeah,
I got to dress warmer. I mean, I'm stupid sitting there freezing to death. Yeah. I look good though.
But you have to wear a longer coat. I've been saying you got to wear a longer coat. That when you're sitting, it's
you got to look good.
Yeah. So, but. So we saw Shane Wright in that very cold Victoria Village rink.
You know, the one game that I think of, tell a story. I think we told a story of tip-off when he played against that Detroit club. Man, the corner, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, we tell that story?
No. So
tell that story.
Well, back when hockey, there used to be fights in minor hockey. There's no more fights in minor hockey.
Not really. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, there's no fights in minor hockey, okay? All right.
Right. So this was a long time ago. So we were it was the Marley tournament. So again, big tournament.
Playing Detroit. They were playing Detroit.
I think they were playing Detroit, and it was Markham. So it was a Markham Waxers. It wasn't the Markham Waxers. It wasn't the Markham Islanders. And Steve Stamkos was on that team. And so they're playing in the semifinals, and we're standing down by the glass. And it's at Tobico Ice Sports, and we're freezing, and they've run up a big score, and they're playing a team from Detroit, I think. And so it's late in the game, like 3 minutes to go in the game, and I think they're up by 5 or 6 goals. And Tip-Off and this other guy really
Now,
caught.
if Tip-Off fights, he's out of the...
Right. So the rule is if you fight back then that you're out of this game and you're automatically suspended for the next game. So they crash in the corner in front, and the one guy throws a punch and hits this guy Tip-Off in the
Detroit guy, yeah.
Detroit hits him. So it's almost
He's
like
got nothing to lose. The Detroit guy's got
Yeah,
nothing to lose because they're out.
They're
see?
out, yeah,
Now,
because
Tip-Off is going to the next
okay,
series.
thing. So I think he kind of he did it right in front of us. I think he kind of peeked at that a little bit, and then he turned around and they whacked and they dropped the gloves and they started to fight. So I know the coach was going insane because this guy was actually leading the team in scoring. He was ahead of Steve Stamkos in scoring, and the guy's like, coach is like, "What are you doing? Fighting? We got, we're going into the playoffs. You're a leading scorer. You're fighting. You're going to miss the finals." And the guy goes, "Well, he punched me right in front of Don Cherry. What am I supposed to do?"
Did I tell a story about Alan Clark? About
Yeah. So, but I'll tell you the thing. This is back when they had one referee. He gave him 6 minutes for roughing.
Oh, that's nice.
And then didn't throw him out.
That's
yeah, and
when they
he
had a
could've-
heart.
Yes.
and they were throwing him pretty good.
Yeah. it was pretty good.
And the referee knew he was control of the game.
Yeah.
You have one referee. If you have two referees, and I'll say it. If you have two referees, say you have one referee trying to impress, and he start calling. And you know what? Remember, a guy brought it up. If there's something happens in front of the net, the guy at center ice, he makes the call. And there's a guy 5 feet from him, he doesn't make the call. Anyhow, I'm not getting to that one. But I cannot understand why you need two referees. Because if you have one guy trying to impress and he calls a million penalties and the other guy doesn't call any, they look at the stats and they said, "Oh, he's not doing his job." So what happens is the other guy's got to call him, I got to call him, back and forth. Cannot understand why in minor midget they go all year with one referee, and then when they come to the playoffs, the most important thing, they have two.
Yeah.
Sounds like it would throw everything off.
It does. It does, for sure. And the funny thing is, during the regular season, we know when the guy from the GTHL or Hockey Canada or whoever it is grading the referee.
Oh, you've always said you can tell when there's a supervisor.
Oh, absolutely.
Being judged.
Within 2 shifts, you can tell.
Great. Well, that really makes sense.
Because you're sitting there and you're going, "Geez, he's calling that. Geez, he's calling." Oh, okay. And you look around and there's some white-haired guy with glasses sitting there writing down the notes. You go, "Oh, okay."
Does he have a black coat on? Probably.
I don't know. So, and it is, and then you see, and then you go, it's just penalty after penalty. And
Remember the time the who's the big defenseman? Ball. Remember the big
Ball, yeah.
Yeah. Where did he get drafted by?
I think he got drafted by Ottawa.
Oh, Ottawa.
Yeah, he was really good in the World Juniors this year.
Oh, he was great. He's great. Great big guy. He's about 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
And I remember this time, and you had one referee, a good referee, and the guy, this little Irish guy. Remember a guy he picked me puck and he run in, and this guy was just standing at the blue line. And he was so big, and he had his head down. He ran into him, and he bounced off a cement pole, and so had to give him, the guy's laying there out. I don't want to get knocked out or something. And so the other Ball, he never did anything. He was just standing there. So he had to give him 5-minute major, give him 5 minutes because the guy's laying there on the ice.
Is that the infamous hit to the head penalty?
No, this was like guy. This was a biggie, bang.
Oh, I see.
So, the guy's 6'5", and the other guy was about 5'8". So figured out. So I'm saying to the referee, guys, "Hey, 5." He said, "What am I going to do, Grapes?" He says, "He's laying there on the ice. I had to give him 5 minutes." That's like Pavelski. Remember, it's the same thing. I'm not going to mention the referee, but we saw. Remember when Pavelski and the guy got to give him a 5-minute major.
Yeah, it was in the playoffs. Was it 2 years ago against Vegas?
Yeah. I don't think that guy ever refereed again. He was slated to go in the minor. So what happened is we saw that it wasn't a cross-check. He went to cross-check, and he didn't. It wasn't a cross-check. They missed, but it had to be in slow motion. And the guy falls down. Pavelski, I think, and his blood's all over the place. Yeah. So what is the guy supposed to do? The guy's laying there. It looked like a cross-check. And, the referee, I'm always on the referee. Sometimes it's pretty hard to call. And that guy, he gave a 5-minute major. Remember, they got 4 goals. Four goals. But his mistake was he was too honest. He should have looked for a penalty against the other team. You see, we give him a 5-minute major. If he had given it would have been 2 minutes off, but he didn't. He was an honest guy.
Yeah, you were waiting for the makeup call.
I thought the makeup call, they're going to find something somewhere, and he didn't. And he got 4 goals. When did they ever get 4 goals on
Fleury too?
And I couldn't believe it. And I don't think that referee refereed another game.
No. One other thing too we saw at the game, the last game we were at, was they called too many men on the ice, and you were saying at one time a rule that should be coming is a line, say like 2 or 3 feet in front of the boards.
Well, that's your idea.
That the players coming off the ice and the puck hits them, you might stop the whistle, but you don't give them too many men.
See what I mean? You know what I mean? Like in front of the benches, there's about maybe that's a little too much, 3 feet, but 2 feet out, square like a rectangle that you're going off. Like right now, if you're going off and your foot's still on the ice and the puck hits it, the other guy, the thing you could get, you get a penalty.
Didn't you have a goalie that named Jerry Cheevers used to shoot the puck toward the bench in order to hit?
It happened, and we got a penalty. We got a power play once over that. But I still think that they've got a new rule that they're going to change for the playoffs, which is kind of funny they did in the playoffs in the year. You know how you used to lift how the offside and the blue line is when the one skater go over and the other guy would lift his leg in the air, they would call that offside. They're not going to do it. That's how. Did I describe that pretty good?
Yeah, they call it breaking the plane or something like that. Yeah.
If the guy lifts his leg as he's going over, they call that an offside. They're going to change that for the playoffs, which I think is right.
Yeah. So we got one more story before we wrap this up and then get ready for our Thursday edition. That I saw something that I haven't seen in the Boston-Tampa game, and I don't know.
Boy, that was some game, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, to me, it looked like Tampa was sending a message to Boston that they're not going to be pushed around, because if everything going to Hoyle, they'll probably meet second round in the playoffs.
Well, if they get by that, and I remember last year, they breezed through the whole league. They were number 1, and nothing was. You have to learn. I hate to say this, but you have to have some what do you call it?
Adversity.
Adversity, and you have to have toughness to get along. You have to lose, and you have to learn how to lose. They never learned.
As you always said, they weren't battle tested.
No, they were.
And like Columbus came in, and the last month of the season, they had to win every game.
And the funny thing is, Columbus doing it this year too.
Yeah.
Tortorella. I mean, I don't know how he does it. If he makes
he should be. If they make the playoffs, he's got to be up for Coach of the Year.
And all the injuries and guys that left and everything like that. And he wouldn't have his picture taken,
Yeah, he wouldn't do the selfie. Did you see that, Cindy? Lady wanted, right in the middle of the game, I think it was in Calgary, the lady wanted to
And then some guy put a picture of him when he was young with a big mustache.
Yeah.
Well, we love him, and we know how he saves the pit bulls. He has his own foundation. I mean, he's my favorite coach for many reasons, and that's the one. His big on his foundation that saves horses, and you showed one of those horses that he saved
when I was
on TV.
Famous.
He's a good guy.
But the one thing, and again, I haven't seen it, was there was a mad scramble in front of the Boston net, and the puck went by Rask, and it looked like, I think it was Torrey Krug, I'm not sure, the defenseman, swept the puck away before it went in, and the play started going down to the Tampa end, and a horn went off. And all the players just kind of like were looking what's going on, and in Toronto, in the war room in Toronto, they looked and saw it was a goal.
Oh, yeah?
It went over. And so they made the referee blow the whistle, because you wonder if they didn't and Boston came down and scored.
You know what's funny thing is, you told me that story, and I think sometimes when I tell people, it is so ridiculous that the referee does not have a little radio or communication up above, that somebody's there, or in Toronto have a communication there. And they could say, it's in, the goalie's in, goalie's in. Because if Boston, like you said, goes down and scores, or so, like what are they going to do? They're going to call a goal back. They should have a little communication with the referee. They have the stupid camera on the top of their helmets. They should have a little microphone inside saying, it's in, the goal is in, and they could stop and go over and take a look. Instead of having the play go on and having the horn go off and everybody in the building thinking, what the heck is going on?
Seems pretty rinky-dink.
It seems rinky-dink. You think somebody would say, he's right. For a change, why don't we have a little communication with the referee saying it's in, because if Boston goes down and scores, what are they going to do now? Wipe that goal out? And for sure it was Toronto calling.
Yeah, that's what they said. It was Toronto called in to say, and then that's when the big fight started after. It was funny because if you saw the fight, Chara was arguing, and somebody from, I forget who it was, from Tampa came up and said something, and then Chara pushed him, and then I think a Maroon came back and hit him, and then that's when
everybody wants to fight Chara now.
Yeah, I got a quick funny story about something like that happened. I know we're going a little bit long, but I remember we were in Colorado, and I think we were playing Buffalo. It was Danny Gare was the captain for Buffalo, I think it was, and Mike Christie was.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Christie was the captain of Colorado when we were coaching, or Dad was coaching. And so something happened, and the referee called Danny Gare and Mike Christie over to talk to what was going on. So you could see them talking, and they were and Danny Gare got mad, and then Mike Christie got mad, and the referee's, kind of shaking his finger at him, and Mike Christie's getting madder, and all of a sudden, they two dropped the gloves and started a fight right in front of the referee. So there was nothing going on until the referee came over, and you could just see them getting madder and madder.
They're two good guys, Gare and Christie.
Yeah, and they got into a fight. I always thought, I'd never seen that before, but that's what kind of happened last night, was Chara was mad at the referee, and then somebody said something to Chara, and he pushed him, and everything. But I'll tell you, boy, that's going to be some series if they do meet in the playoffs.
Well, everybody wants to take Chara on now, and I don't think they did 5 or 6 years ago. Chara, he's getting around 34, 35. He's had a lot of injuries, and let me tell you something. You have those fights. It takes a lot out of you. You don't want to be around 30. What is he about? 34, 35.
I think he's even older than that. I think he's pushing 40.
Is he? Well, he's a fitness nut. That's why he keeps going. But you don't want to get into those fights because they really do take a lot out of you. And everybody's taking a shot at him now.
It's like an old gunslinger, Leo used to say.
Well, he's an old gunslinger. And he really doesn't want to get in it. But someday, I'm going to tell you, he's going to snap and he can still go.
Yeah.
But, I remember that game. And again, I'll say it again. The referee should have a little microphone or something. They should have communication with those guys instead of somebody from Toronto blowing a horn and everybody saying, what the heck happened? The referee, all he'd have to do is saying, it's in, check the thing, and they know what's going on.